Good?
Yeah.
Helpful? So, I don't think it's a statement about the heart of the people. I think it's a statement about how we consume information and the way that our information begins to shape our attitudes in things. Okay, one final point here. Okay. Trump. Most political scientists have put Trump and his movement in a sort of populist movement. So, like the People's Party, like McGovern or something like that, right? It's the people rising up together. I'm not sure, but it's quite possible that we should actually see that movement more as an apocalyptic destructionist movement. That should be seen more like Jonestown or David Koresh or Aum Shinrikyo than a political movement. Apocalypse means an unveiling, that the world is ending, and there will be a revealing of how the world works, and justice will be restored to how it was, how it should be. Now, there's been a lot of studies on these apocalyptic groups, especially in the last 30 years since Jonestown. And so we can actually look at the attributes of apocalyptic destructive groups and map it. And this started as kind of a half-drunken idea. But as I've sort of developed this, it's actually kind of scary. So, what do academics do? What do academics think these movements begin as? Because you don't start off with Jonestown. Jonestown is the end. You don't start off with the sarin gas in the subway. That's the end. It starts off with a group who feels afraid and feels persecuted and humiliated. That's the beginning. You've got to have a stable group who feels that way. And a poll came out just a few days ago. The group with the most fatalistic view of American culture are white evangelical Protestants. 74% say American culture has changed for the worse since 1950. It's an exact reversal of almost every other group. White evangelical Protestants think the world has gone to hell in a handbasket, and Trump tells us the country is in a hellhole. And if you look at his convention speech, these are all actual quotes from his convention speech. Violence issue, chaos, we don't have much time, our international humiliation, forced to their knees, disasters unfolding, ruins, helpless, die in the hands of savage killers, worse than it's ever been, poverty and violence at home, ignorance, neglect, I mean, it's just language that this world is scary, it's dark, it's a dystopian view. And what's the basis of that? Well, an interesting book came out just a few months ago, The End of White Christian America, and actually the guy's speaking in Santa Barbara tonight, as it turns out. But anyhow, but what he shows is that 62% in 1974 of America was white Christian, white married Christian. Now it's down to like 25%. If you're a white Christian American, your America has left. It's not what it was. As someone pointed out, he wants to make America great again. That word again means something very specific to white Christian America. It means going back to a world where they were center stage. And so what does Trump's base feel? Feel dispossessed of their country. They now feel marginalized in real American society. That's their society. So you have the humiliation, you feel the persecution. Remember this one. 70% of evangelicals feel persecuted now. Persecuted, humiliated, lost. And if you look at, has it gotten worse? Most evangelicals say in the last 2 years it's gotten considerably worse. It's gone from 34% think it's more difficult to 41% just in 2 years. Statistically, that's a big jump. Now, why? Why has it gotten so bad? Well, who is at fault?
Obama.
Well, Obama. When Obama letting those immigrants in. Who are the group that want to have a wall to keep the non-white Christian married Americans out? It's evangelicals who are more supportive of it than any other group. Because what are immigrants? Well, Trump says, but you have people coming in And I'm not just saying Mexicans, I'm talking about people from all over that are killers and rapists coming into this country. So who are immigrants? Killers and they're rapists, right? That's why we need a wall, right? To protect our America. Not only that, it's the Muslims, right? Because remember, it's white evangelical Christians and Trump voters who think that 88% think an attack is likely. Like only 53%. I mean, there's an NPR story that we listened to the other day where there's this farmer in rural Iowa, and he's talking about how scared he is of Islamic terrorists coming to his farm. And he says, I heard, my dog started barking the other night, and I knew they were here. So I got my gun out, and I went out, and it was a raccoon, this time. But tomorrow night, it may not be. And I'm yelling at the radio going, are you kidding me? No one goes to Iowa, let alone Islamic terrorists go to rural Iowa. But they're going after us. Oh, there we go. Sorry. But I noticed you left. And talking about severity of natural disasters, evidence of the end times, 77% think they're living in the end times. So what do you got? You got a world where you feel dispossessed, marginalized, where the world's being taken from me by these immigrants coming, by Muslims wanting to attack me, and then even God is sending natural disasters telling us that the end of the world's happening. Conclusion is, I think they fit this category. So listen to Trump. And their agenda is to elect crooked Hillary Clinton at any cost, at any price, no matter what lives they destroy. For them, it's war. And for them, nothing at all is out of bounds. This is a struggle for the survival of our nation. Believe me. And this will be our last chance to save it on November 8th. Remember that. And who's he telling to? I love this picture. 100% white people. Yeah. Okay, so I think it fits what we've learned about these groups. Second of all, the group tends to project hope onto a savior figure. You see this all over the place. Only Trump can save them from the changes they perceive to be this catastrophe. And there's actually a theory by Toynbee. It's a pretty famous history book. It talks about study of history. It says, he calls them saviors with time machines. That are people who can somehow move their societies back to what they were or future to what they can be. He argued that history is made up of people, of savior figures who arise. This was from Roman periods, from Byzantine periods, from all over, who promise these things, these charismatic ways to just change the world. And that Trump fits this. He's a savior who's going to bring America back to 1950, bring all the jobs back, make us all Christian, make us all white, right? And a majority of Republicans believe that America is so off track they need a leader who's going to break the rules. Right? So in other words, we need a savior figure who's strong enough even to break the rules. And notice it at the convention 4 and 8 years ago is yes we can. At the Republican convention it was yes you can. You can. In other words, Trump can save us. And Trump cultivates this. I'm the only one who can fix our problems. That's from the convention. I predict terrorism because I can feel it. I can feel it like a good location. The other countries should pay us. They pay us substantially for defense, and they will by ask. If someone else asks them, they won't. Only I. If I ask them, they'll pay. I'm the only one who can make America truly great again. His Twitter account, another radical Islamic attack, this time in Pakistan, targeting Christian women and children. These 6, 7 dead, 4 injured. I alone can solve. There's nobody bigger or better at the military than I am. So he cultivates this savior complex, and then it gets projected onto him. Michelle Bachmann, you remember a good quote, she's always there to provide one. At the end of the day, God raised up, I believe, Donald Trump, who was going to be the nominee for this election. And what you begin to see is Trump talking like a savior figure. I could stand in the middle of Fifth Avenue and shoot someone and I wouldn't lose voters. That's someone who's kind of cognizant of it. So elevated up to a savior figure, I think it fits. Third part. what Mark Juergensmeyer calls the Satanization of the enemy. In other words, the enemy cannot just be wrong. They have to be demonic. They have to be made into something that's evil, right? Because if you're wrong, I can change you by persuasion. What do you do with evil? You can only eradicate evil. You can't convince it of anything. So, Trump on Hillary. She's a certain way evil. Hillary Clinton has tremendous hate in her heart. Hillary Clinton's a nasty woman. Honestly, she should be locked up. She should be locked up. And as a result, 94% of Trump voters find Clinton corrupt. 83% find her evil. Wow. Right? And you see this play out in the signs all over his rallies. The devil's horns on Hillary and Satan. There's this book that has been being passed around, Prophecy and Destruction in the United States. Brian Fisher, famous evangelical firebrand, says Hillary Clinton is motivated by the spirit of the Antichrist because she's against Christ, she's against Christianity, she's against free exercise of Christian faith. She doesn't want the Christian faith to be part of the public square to influence public policy. She's against everything Christianity stands for. She's an opponent of all that is good and right and noble. This is the Satanization of her. And as a result, it then gets placed into a cosmic battle between good and evil. So televangelist Jim Baker, well, let me tell you something that's going to be that may be the last president you ever not vote for, because if America continues the direction it's going, we're not going to have much time. Trump, this struggle for survival of our nation, believe me, this is our last chance to say that. Trump advisor Alex Jones. These people say that they're your leaders. They want to kill you and your family and your gut, you know it. Vote Donald Trump if you want to live. It's that simple. Death is what globalists have to offer, period. Trump. ISIS are hoping and praying that Hillary Clinton becomes president of the United States because they'll take over not only that part of the world, they're going to take over this country as well. So if you vote for Hillary, ISIS is going to come here. Robert Jeffries, Southern Baptist. This is not a battle between Republicans and Democrats, it's a battle between good and evil, righteousness and unrighteousness, light and darkness. And it's time for people who say they're conservative Christians to get off the fence and go to the polls and vote their convictions. This isn't about partisan politics, it's about good and evil. So, you have a group who feels humiliated, who perceives to be persecuted. You have the projection onto putting their hope in a single savior figure. You then have a Satanization of the enemy that turns it into a cosmic battle of good and evil. Finally, the group has to become more and more insular, and this is something we learned from Jonestown. They got all their news just from Jones. You see this also from David Koresh. This is where news comes from. This is their bunker, right? As we talked about. It's Breitbart, it's Newsmax, it's Red State, it's EIB, it's InfoWars, right? And as a result, they can't even imagine not winning because every one of their sources have it. They can't imagine the result of illegal vote rating. 67% of Republicans, 2/3 of Republicans think it's just inconceivable that Trump could win. That's not so much a statement about trust in our system, it's much more a statement on where you get your news. Everything there's in their world runs it. And this is where it becomes interesting. The media becomes to be seen as a source of rigging, and thus you cannot trust anything that's in the mainstream media. 88% of people who support Trump in the presidential race believe the news organizations skew the facts. This election is absolutely being rigged by the dishonest, distorted media pushing Hillary, but it's at so many polling, but it's sad. So what's the primary threat when polled Trump voters say the media? So listen to Trump on this conspiracy, because conspiracies are what are at the end. A belief that the whole world is conspiring against you. The Clinton machine is at the center of this power structure. We've seen this firsthand in the WikiLeaks document, in which Hillary Clinton meets in secret with international banks to plot the destruction of U.S. sovereignty in order to enrich the global financial powers for special interest owners, friends, and donors. This election will determine whether we are a free nation, whether we have only the illusion of democracy, but in fact controlled by a small handful of global special interests rigging the system, and our system is rigged. This is reality. You know it, they know it, I know it, and it's pretty much the whole world knows it. The establishment, the media, enable real control of the nation through means that are very well known. So, what do we see? A world that has become a bubble. You can't trust anything in it because there's a vast conspiracy making sure that anything you read anti-Trump is very good. Yeah. And then what's the final step? Violence is never the first choice. Violence is the last choice of everybody. Violence only happens when there's no other options left among these groups. They didn't go to Jonestown to kill themselves. They went to Jonestown to create a paradise. Right? Koresh didn't hole himself in because he wanted to kill everybody there. No, violence is the last option. When nothing else can do. And you begin to see this. Tony Perkins from, I love the Family Research Council, says this election could be my last opportunity for a peaceful resolution. Interview at Trump rally, this guy, if she's in office, I hope we can start a coup. She should be in the prisoner's shop. That's how I feel about it. We're going to have a revolution, take them out of the office, that's what it takes. There's going to be a lot of bloodshed, but that's what it's going to take. I would do whatever I can for my country. The Sheriff Clark, it's pitchfork and torches time in America. Former Representative Joe Walsh, this is now war. Watch out, Obama. Watch out, Black Lives Punks. Real America is coming after you. Notice that just mixes everything. Real America is coming after you. Joe Walsh again. On November 8th, I'm voting for Trump. On November 9th, if Trump loses, I'm grabbing my musket. And what does Trump say? Does he reject the violence? He says, take guns from Clinton's Secret Service agents and let's see what happens. Part of the problem is nobody wants to hurt each other anymore. In this good old days, this doesn't happen because we used to treat them very, very rough. I'm not sure if there's no other option, but at least it's heading in that direction. So, positive stress groups, acute fear of loss and perception of persecution and humiliation. That's what we have. Place hope in a singular savior figure. Got that. Satanization of the enemy, so debate is reframed as a constant battle against evil. Got that. Group becomes insular and conspiratorial. Got that. Violence is the only option left. I don't know.
James Comey is trying to help out.
Yeah, well, he's doing his best, right? Maybe he's thinking that. Useful?
Yes.
Yes.
It's kind of scary?
Yes.
Question, not at all.
Yeah.
Dr. Moffett, question for you. Do you think when he decided to run, he wasn't necessarily, years ago, he used to align himself with the Democratic Party more.
Yeah.
So, do you think he saw this as an opening of...
No, I think he just saw his opening for people to pay attention to him. I think it's that way. I think that's it. I think he's just about wanting to be the center of attention. So 5 untold stories. Something to talk about at election night dinner, huh? At least something like that. Okay, I know some people have to go, so I will answer some questions at the end, but I don't want to leave you on the apocalyptic destruction as well. So I want to leave you with the last October surprise. I'm not sure if you caught this in your media yet, but they did unearth a new video. It's actually a picture of the And I must say that it does seem that Trump is already trying to reframe post-election. He is now reformulating what it means, and especially his big slogan, "Make America Great Again," which clearly is now, it just got misunderstood. That it's, we should make America great again. No more shredded cheese, everybody's got to grate it themselves. And one final point to end on. I know there's a lot of people talking about moving to Canada. And this is true of both Republicans and Democrats. Republicans think if Hillary gets in, let's move to Canada. Democrats think the same. Canada is actually kind of jokingly thinking they should be president, and they actually have campaign ads saying, "Hi, American, Donald Trump may be your president of your country. If that happens, you decide to get the hell out of here. Might I suggest moving to Cape Breton Island in Canada?" 2037. And this guy is willing to sell your house for you. If that's what you're willing to. And it is true, when Donald Trump began his victory speech, moving to Canada spiked in Google searches. But I want to rephrase this. You don't have to move to Canada. I have actually a better suggestion. Instead of people moving to Canada, what we should all advocate is this guy becoming president of all of North America. Wouldn't that be a great world? Justin Trudeau just expands it from Canada to all of North America. And then we can have a GQ model who also does ads for Pride Toronto as all of our leader. If that happens, we'll have some religious analysis for how that happened. But that's going to have to wait for next time. So I appreciate you coming tonight. One thing they did want me to mention, in the winter I will be doing a series on the origins of Christianity. That's from Jesus to Constantine. So if you want more of that, please come to that. But otherwise, if you need to leave, take off. If you have questions and comments and want to talk, let's keep talking.
Thank you.